Welcome to the AIDIA talk show. Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs brings you the series of AIDIA talk show. Here we discuss plethora of issues including bilateral economy, trade, investment and so on and so forth. And today's guest is a very well-known face in India and Nepal. Any guess? Okay. One clue. He was the former Indian ambassador to Nepal. Yes. We are talking about His Excellency Manjeev Singh Puri, who was Indian ambassador to Nepal till 2019. Puri, a retired Indian civil servant of the Indian Foreign Service cadre and the former ambassador of India to Nepal, joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1982. During the course of his diplomatic career, spanning over 36 years, he served in different countries, in different capacities, in Indian missions abroad and in India's foreign ministry, including a number of multilateral organizations such as United Nations and European Union. In Delhi, he has served as Joint Secretary, UN Economic and Social Council and Deputy Chief of Protocol in the Indian Foreign Ministry. Prior to becoming India's ambassador to Nepal, he has served as Ambassador of India in Brussels in 2014 till 2017 and as Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative of India to the United Nations in New York from 2009 to 2013. So, let's welcome His Excellency Puri in AIDIA Talk Show. Welcome, Your Excellency, to the AIDIA Talk Show. Since you have retired from the active diplomatic career spanning almost 4 decades, how is the life of a retired diplomat?
Well, thank you. Life couldn't be better. Look at me coming to Nepal, of course, after 5 years. There's a kind of freedom in the sense that you are not bound to a 9-to-5 job. But on the other hand, you have to find ways and means of keeping yourself occupied and keeping yourself gainfully going.
So what has been keeping you occupied?
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Look, I am involved in India with a number of things, things involving business, the corporate world, think tanks, some dealing with foreign policy, but it's given me an opportunity to go back to an area in which I used to be involved many years before I came to Nepal, which is sustainable development and climate change. I am the distinguished fellow at India's very well-known and globally well-known institution, TERI, dealing with sustainability and climate change. I am very happy to be engaged with these matters, other than being engaged with issues which are very germane to the economy, corporate world and so on.
So is this your first visit after the retirement?
So I've been to Nepal once. I came here about 6 months back for this banking and financial services summit, which is an annual event. But I came in the morning and left next morning. So this time I'm spending 3-4 days meeting friends like you. I can say it's my first visit in about 5 years.
So what is your impression? Has Kathmandu changed since you left?
So very brief, because I've been here barely 48 hours and hardly stepped out. One thing that appears very, very, very visible, we're staying at Yak and Yeti Hotel in Darbar Marg, is the pavements and what people mention, but what we've noticed ourselves, a degree of move towards cleanliness and so on. But I'll tell you something else that makes me feel good, which is the buzz and the activities around. Now, one part of me which looks at climate change and so on says that, oh my God, more pollution, more greenhouse gases. But another part of me which looks at development says, Nepal is buzzing. It's come out of COVID, it's going forward. When I see buildings, no matter the issues, I was happy to see the tower in Kathmandu. Good. You see the developments in Tamil. I like all this. I like buzziness. Because when the economy goes, people go, life becomes better, and I'm very happy with that.
But of late, India has been moving forward so fast with economic development. But a lot of people in Nepal, they think that Nepal has failed to catch up with India's economic development, which as a neighbor, it's very important. What is your opinion on that?
So, Kuber, let me put it like this. India has hugely benefited by globalization and demography, and of course, stability, leadership. We've had Prime Minister Modi now for 10 years and in his third term. So, it allows many of these factors to come together. But let me look at the one factor. We are the largest country in the world today. Even for those who may have looked the other way, they can't escape the fact that we are one of the larger markets in the world. We are a huge technology powerhouse. We are developing things in the area of software. We have Indians who are becoming global CEOs. And so, for the world, we are a country of massive interest. We benefited from globalization.
Yes.
So have you. A country which till 1991 didn't issue passports today has a quarter of its population overseas. You are among the 5 largest countries in terms of remittances to GDP ratio, and so much of the development I see in Nepal, I dare say it has much to do with Nepal's connection with the world, your diaspora, etc. Now you are talking about the Indian economy. Look, we've also done something otherwise well. Our economy has been consistently growing, barring the COVID years, 7-8%. We hope to make it even more than that. We are the 5th largest economy in the world today, and there is almost nothing that can stop us from certainly becoming the 3rd largest economy in a few years' time. Now, that's the nature of the Indian economy. So, when people in Nepal talk in terms of looking at the Indian economy with a degree of saying, hey, here is something, the way I look at it is, this is a great opportunity for you. Why do I say it? You know India perhaps better than any other country. I dare say even better than we know ourselves. You know the opportunities that exist. Growth in India is, in my opinion, an automatic plus for Nepal, for Nepalis, for Nepali economy, Nepali companies and everyone. Please take advantage of that.
You rightly said, in 1991, it was not easy to get passport for the people, general people.
Yeah.
And in that decade, let's say 90s decade, lots of Indian industries came to Nepal. Like you name it, Dabur or Surya Nepal or whatever, which are one of the largest tax-paying companies in this country.
Correct.
But of late, in recent times, we have not seen much Indian investments, enthusiasm to come to Nepal. What could be the reason that Indian industries are not that much willing to come to Nepal?
So, Kuber, very interesting question. And this is exactly what I was asked at the Nikki symposium yesterday also. Let me say this. The time that you are talking about, late 80s, early 90s, is the time that I was growing up.
Till early 20s also, let's say.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So the thing is, that was a time in India when any company which grew and became a little big and wanted to look overseas, it felt it was only confident to go in the neighborhood. Nepal was a country of automatic choice. It was your first choice. So ITC, which is Surya Nepal, Hindustan Levers, which is now Unilever, Unilever Nepal, Dabur, every single one. Look at the products also that they are doing. These are products which are for mass consumption. Nepalese consumption habits are similar to Indian consumption.
They are not only contributing to tax, they are contributing to our exports also.
No, everything. So, they came here, they did a lot of things. One, they took advantage of trade regulations to be able to export out of Nepal, to take advantage of raw materials in your country, to do various things which have something to do with Nepal's consumption and the ability to feed back into India, the rest of South Asia, and indeed the world. Let's be very honest today. Today, with the growth in the Indian economy, the fact that through globalization we have become hugely connected with the world, and so much has happened in the last 25 years. So, Kuber, let me just draw your attention. When Goldman Sachs, in a sense, announced this thing called BRIC, it changed India's mindset about itself. Now, Indian companies, when they grow up, the first thing that they want to look is, if I am a strong company, really strong, I will think in terms of diversifying to the United States and Europe. I do have that kind of comfort level in myself. If I'm not that big, I look at Dubai and Singapore. The Indian market itself is so huge and massive, and there are so many opportunities that to step out here, they say, why don't we do it through trade? It's that much easier. And secondly, please allow me to say that, the cost of doing business for these large enterprises and those that are growing up is not low in your countries. And I don't mean only Nepal, but I mean other countries in our neighborhood. You have to understand that for those whose sense of comfort, because of the Indian joining together with the globalization, you have to make a redoubled efforts actually to attract them. I'll leave a simple point to you. Have you noted the number of Nepalis, both individually as well as corporate entities, which are investing in India?
Of course, they are.
People don't tend to notice this.
Yeah.
But in various ways, quietly or in public domain, in various ways, people are doing that. So, this is the nature of our society. We are interlinked.
Yes.
We have roti beti. Our economies are interlinked. More than anything else, we know each other.
But despite that, Nepal and India recently had this 10,000 megawatt energy import-export agreement also. So Nepal has a lot of hydropower potential, and Indian economy that is growing has a lot of demand for it.
Yep.
Similar with tourism.
Yeah.
Our Shiva circle or our Shakti circle or Buddhist circle, Ramayana circle, whatever we name, we are promoting, trying to promote that. And agriculture. Still, these three areas, hydropower, tourism and agriculture, holds a lot of potential in Nepal, and there is still a market for both the countries, like you said. Still, why not Indian investments are coming? Why not we can do that magic of 90s? That's the major question right now.
So Kuber, let me answer this question. What does investment mean? It means growing of your economy. It means employment. That's what you are looking at. You're not looking at my setting up a plant for the sake of setting up
Not
a plant.
necessarily because of
So,
modern
you are
technologies
looking at-
today.
You are looking at in terms of India's economy pumping the Nepalese economy.
Yes.
That's what we are looking at. Now let me look at some of your things. Look, I was very, very pleased that during my time in Nepal as ambassador, the first major hydroelectric project, Arun 3,
Arun 3.
it started construction.
Yeah.
Nothing had happened for 30 years. And today it's 50% done.
almost, yeah.
Almost done. And it has got 2 phases.
Yes.
Okay. It by itself, generating about 1500 megawatts, will bring a huge change in terms of the electricity that you will sell to India. It could bring about a change in the trade balance.
Yes.
In fact, at yesterday's Nikki symposium, I was pleasantly surprised and happy when the Nepal Electricity Authority announced that even though we buy power in winter months from India, we are a net exporter of electric power and earner for Nepal.
This fiscal year.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this will only change and become bigger.
Yeah.
Now, more Indians should be attracted by you here. But at the end of the day, as I told you, why is hydropower important? It's also important because of the globalization pressure of climate change,
Yeah.
power which is less fossil fuel based, and so
Clean
on. and so
energy.
forth, and water.
Yes.
All these factors. But you also have to look at your own politics, if I may dare so. Are you really making a major effort to reach out to India and tell them, please join hands and do it? We know what happened for the last 50 years. We don't need to repeat it here.
Yeah.
And I'll repeat again what I said yesterday. Decide yourself. But remember this, that all resources tend to become finite in the face of technology. And we don't know what the fuel technology for electric power is going to be in the future. Hydrogen, are we looking at some other kind of chemical generation, nuclear power? We have no idea. So please remember this fact. For you, for India, which is a huge, massive economy, answers will be found. Slowly or surely or faster, I don't know. But for you, these are finite resources. Frankly, you need to think about it yourself and see what you can. I am sure in India, for a variety of reasons, this would be there. This 10,000 megawatts is a very interesting story. Basically, and the Indian ambassador yesterday explained it, the Nepalese side, and rightly so, felt that one-time sets of exports, which is a project to project or pact to pact, is good. But you should have an institutional framework. We have done it. Now there's an institutional framework. It will only go up. And you made a very important point. India may be a huge and massive economy, but our per capita consumption of electric power is a minuscule amount in terms of global averages. Our per capita income is low. Our electricity demand just has to grow. It has to grow hugely. And we also have to try and see, and our Prime Minister has committed at all the COPs, etc., that up to 50% of our generating capacity, the sources will be non-fossil fuel.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity for you. Please do it. Now let me talk about tourism to you. Look, there are lots of ups, downs, COVID, money, this, that and the other. But basically, let's understand, the Indians, the middle class Indians, forget the rich, the middle class Indians have money,
Yeah.
they have disposable income, and they wish to spend it. They are going to Dubai, Singapore, Europe, etc. But they are coming to Nepal. But you need to start now looking at all of this as an opportunity and reach out. Whether it's these banquets, marriages, etc., you can. Yesterday, the Indian ambassador pointed out that look at even land tourism.
Yes.
You know, the figures we talk about are in terms of those registered at Tribhuvan International Airport. But there's a 10 times that amount of people who come by land.
By land, yeah.
They have as much money.
Yeah.
They are willing to spend as much. You go to Pokhara, you see cars. He was mentioning that he sees cars from Kerala.
Yeah.
So, again, Kuber, I leave the thought with you. You have a huge source, both potential and source, right near you, and one that you know. If the mood, the willingness, etc. is there, and you tune yourself a little bit to it, you will find that at that end, what does it mean? People know.
Yeah.
They are comfortable. And even if they spend only a portion of what they are going to be spending here, there's a huge deal available for you.
Since you mentioned about COP and net zero and all these things, the countries have their target and all, Nepal also has the target, and you are working in climate change area. What sort of joining together hands with Nepal, and how can Nepal and India work in this area together?
See, one is hydropower, we said, you know, fossil fuel free energy generation.
Yeah, clean energy.
Tremendous.
Yeah.
Secondly, on a global scale, I'm talking about global cooperation, is this question of money.
Yeah.
You know, whether we like it or not, globally there is money available, but for the developing countries, given our needs, both on mitigation as well as adaptation, the monies are scarce. This I even say coming from a country like India, which is a huge economy. Our demands are massive. So is it with Nepal. We need to work together on what can we do to create global infrastructure so that monies, and I will underscore this, from the private sector starts flowing to our economy. We have to tackle many things. I work a lot in an area which is, you can say, reducing the cost of capital.
Okay.
And the biggest thing that we hear from people are simple matters, foreign exchange costs, hedging. You know, when you talk to a company, they don't talk about this economic kind of thing. The finance manager says, I borrow. That gentleman out there, his ballpark figure is 3 to 4%. To me, he says nothing less than 9%. Some of it is country risk, you can't help it. A lot of it is simple foreign exchange risk. My hedging costs are phenomenally high. Can we do something? So I have been propagating with a lot of our colleagues to try and see. There are people in the world who are also talking about this, the Bridgetown Initiative, etc. Can we do something to look at our large multilateral institutions, the World Bank, the IMF, to set up some kind of mechanism to provide a way by which these hedging costs, etc., can be reduced. So again, I'm not saying, you know, for a country like Nepal, you have every right to look at grants and so on. You're a small country, just coming out of an LDC status and so on, and vulnerable country. You have every right to do so. And so at Baku on the NCQG, you have every right to have an expectation. But in the bigger, larger scale where a country like India stands, we have to attract private capital. And if the cost of attracting that is such that their attraction remains, but the cost is not unbearable for us, we can try and have a win-win situation. But we need global infrastructure for that.
Since you mentioned Baku, Baku in November, next month, let's say more than a month left now, they're planning something climate finance.
NCQG.
Yeah, they are trying to do that. How will it help Nepal and India in?
Sir, I'll differentiate between the two. You're a small country, small economy, LDC becoming, India is a very large economy. There are many factors on that. Look, the last time a number was laid down was in Copenhagen.
Yes.
Which was $100 billion a year.
Climate fund.
Yeah, that the developed world will produce $100 billion for them. The only report I have seen is recently OECD, after adding all kinds of numbers from everywhere in the world, finally said that in the year 2022, the developed world produced $101 billion. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
Let's not get. Today, the demand is, and India has said so, the Azeris also are talking, that we talk in terms of about $1 trillion being
Yes.
made available. Naturally, you are a country which has a claim to all of that. And so when the funds do become available, it becomes possible for you to make. If there's no fund, what are you going to make a claim?
Yes.
But you need to also remember the following. You need to start preparing yourself what might be available. It's a tough call. It's international expertise. You need to have projects which are bankable. You need to have projects where the project profiles are properly produced. You know, it isn't really a case, I have got the potential, no.
Nobody's coming.
You
Nobody's giving
have
money.
to work
Yeah.
hard. This international money comes in large numbers, etc. But you have to follow the rules of the world. And so therefore, each of these things are elements of capacity building. You have the natural resource, but you need the capacity building of being able to make it into a realizable business. You have to work. Your work, in my opinion, is cut out.
Okay, let's come to you personally. While in Nepal, you published a book called Siik Heritage in Nepal. Can you please describe how you got an idea to publish a book or write a book and highlighting the contribution of the Sikh community?
Kuber, thank you. You touched my heart. The book was published by the Indian Embassy. I was the ambassador. You know, it's very rare for bureaucrats or diplomats in particular to have a situation where their official and their personal comes together.
Yes.
Now, somehow in the year 2019, the government of India, Prime Minister Modi, decided that they would celebrate 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak, born in 1469, in a big way, and all embassies were told. As a Sikh, as an ambassador, it was both sides, my personal interest as well as mine. We looked around.
Okay.
You know, there is a obvious Sikh community here.
Yeah.
Barely 1 kilometer away from you is this huge Gurudwara.
Yes.
Obviously, I knew them all. We asked them. Then we started digging, trying to unearth what is else. We found handwritten beads, that is the Swarups of Guru Granth Sahib, in small places at Pashupati Nath, etc. It's part of the heritage. Then we discovered things such as the possibilities, I say I have no evidence of Guru Nanak having traversed some part of Nepal when he went
is
to
said
Tibet.
so.
Yeah, you know, I'm not an archaeologist, I can't give you evidence. Then we certainly know for a fact that when Nepal unified and your army started spreading left and right,
Yes.
while at one end they went up to nearly the Teesta on this side, on the other end they finally were stopped by the forces of Maharaja Ranjit Singh in Kangra.
Kangra.
And do you know that the first Gurkhas who were recruited in armies in India were in the Sikh army?
Yes.
And they even saw action on the Sikh army side in Kabul in Afghanistan,
Yes.
in their battle. Then we saw Maharani Jindan, who was the empress of Dulip Singh, of Ranjit Singh, who was deposed, and you know, when he passed away. She came here. She lived here for so many years.
Yes, yeah.
So these connections. So we saw historicity, we saw current, and we saw this whole business of things happening. I'll say something to you. You know, the Sikh religion very strongly believes in three things. One is it's Naam Japo, which is common to all of us. Be spiritual, take the name of God, with all it. The other is Kirat Karo, which is do good deeds.
Okay.
And the third is Karm Karo. The third is Vand Chako, which means share.
Okay.
So you know our Gurudwaras are very well known. Anybody goes there, you
can get food there.
Yeah, it's not just free food. It's actually for everyone. That's the nature of it. But it is our people who came to Nepal, whether the transporters, whether the buses they brought, the opening of Nepal to the world. Whether it's the pilots who started the airline efforts here, the first set of pilots were all Sikhs. For
I
some
was
reason.
always wondering when I was kid why all the drivers were Sikhs.
So this is
Punjabis
an old
in Nepali.
Yeah, this is an old tradition even in northern India. For whatever reason, the people felt that these big, well-built people were good in driving trucks. They established a major business in India, and then they saw the opportunity and they reached out to Nepal. And now I want to tell you, this fact, hidden perhaps to me, but is so well known to Nepal, including in your leaders,
Yes.
that when I spoke to the governor of the Rashtra Bank and even the Prime Minister and mentioned, can we do a commemorative coin, they had no hesitation.
Yeah.
And you did us not just an honor, but a matter of love and affection. Even today, people remember this particular thing,
Yeah.
and we remember you, and the Sikh community worldwide and in India remembers you as the country which has understood, accepted, and in a sense given us an embrace. Wonderful country.
Since another envoy, former envoy of India to Nepal, has also penned down a book. So you also had a book. Is there any plan to write any other book about Nepal or on Nepal, related to Nepal?
So many of our former ambassadors have written books on Nepal. Two which have happened in recent past. We know my immediate predecessor wrote a book which came out 2 years back.
Yes.
Somebody who retired many years back wrote another book, and I was in fact presiding over its release function in Delhi. At some stage, yes, but I am also very cognizant of some particular facets to all of this. Ours is a life in which you hear, see, partake in number of things. You need to look at this. On the other hand, I am a firm and convinced believer that if you won't share what you've got, then how is it that you will reach out to others?
Yeah.
How will others benefit, and so on? So thank you, Kuber, for giving me this, let me say, this little injection that tried to do something.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your nice words about Nepal. And
You
all this.
are
Thank
wonderful.
you. Thank
All
you.
of you are wonderful. And
Thank
the
you.
country is beautiful, and so are the people.
Thank you.
Thank you.